The Tokyo Dome.
Wrestle Kingdom 9.
What'd you think of this show?
Thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that I saw was at least good. Nothing was a waste of time. Not one point was I feeling ripped off or insulted. I thought this show respected me, and I certainly respected this show. I thought the announcing was great. Both men, actually. Jim Ross and Matt Stryker. I thought they worked very, very well together. I thought, this is not news. Actually, it might be news in 2015 for some people, but Jim Ross and I realized that this man worked for this show and prepped for this show and studied and did his homework. But it was still the first time he'd ever called a match for any of these men. But his instincts for when to crank up the drama and when to tone it down, unmatched. He is so perfect as a wrestling announcer. Like I say, I know that's not news. But I did not see the entire show. The first thing I saw was Minoru Suzuki versus Kazushi Sakuraba.
Hey, that's when you should have started.
This was two completely broken old men who were still tough as hell. And they said, we can go out there and take a bunch of bumps, or we can just take turns hitting each other in the face. And for us, hitting each other in the face actually hurts less. So let's just do that. And by and large, that's what it was. There was lots of slaps in the face, and elbows in the face, and knees in the face, and punches in the face, and very, very few actual bumps. So, Sakuraba, at one point he got an arm bar, and Suzuki had a bad arm for the rest of the match. So Sakuraba spent a long time working this arm over, putting him in various arm holds, hitting kicks to the arm, about 1,000 kicks to the arm. And finally, Suzuki made a big comeback. He fired up, and he caught one of Sakuraba's kicks to the arm, started slapping the hell out of him, hit a sliding kick to the face, put him in a sleeper hold of death, and they had an epic struggle, but at last Sakuraba passed out. That was tremendous.
Yes, I agree with you on Sakuraba looking 1,000 years old, but my God, Minoru Suzuki looked awesome. He dieted down, he got a tan, he looked 20 years younger, wearing his old Pancras gear. And the armbar in question was Sakuraba's famous Kimura that he used to break the arm of Henzo Gracie. And that was the move that he used to destroy the arm of poor Suzuki. And then he kicked the absolute hell out of it. He thought he was Donald Cerrone, kicking him as hard as humanly possible in the arm. And yes, they did the sleeper hold, the sleeper into a suplex, and then another sleeper hold, and he choked him clean out. I thought this match was so great. I thought, how will anything possibly follow this match? Little did I know.
And most of it did.
Little did I know. But yes, this match was phenomenal. Everybody should watch this match. For those of you that heard Nigel McGuinness on this show when he was talking about his idea for wrestling, his promotion that he wants to get started.
LA Fights.
LAfights.com, that's right. Still trying to raise money. Watch this match and get an idea of, I think, the idea that he's thinking. And you should also all watch this match if you are learning to be a wrestler so you can find out how to sell. That is what Minoru Suzuki did here. He is the best in the world at selling and facials. I nearly wept during this match.
It was great. Tomohiro Ishii versus Togi, I believe it's...
Makabe.
Yeah, Makabe. The meanest mean guy match I may have ever seen.
No, dude. You need to get njpwworld.com and just watch all of Ishii's matches.
They're all like this?
They're all crazier.
Yes.
This was... Go watch the Ishii-Tanahashi match from... I can't remember what it was. It was a couple of years ago. This was the greatest match of all time.
Yes. So they were hitting each other in the face a lot, hitting these very, very high-angle German suplexes, falling right down on the back of their neck. Very uncomfortable.
Onto the bad shoulder.
On the bad shoulder the one dude had. I believe it was Ishii had a bad shoulder.
Yes, Ishii dislocated his shoulder way back in August at the G1, and he has missed 0 shows.
I shouldn't laugh.
And that's the storyline. They keep destroying his shoulder.
Yes. He hit a big delayed superplex. That was very scary. Makabe broke out a top rope Samoan drop that appeared to kill both men. A lot of lariats, a lot of power bombs, and then they just took turns for a while. I have seen chop fests. I have seen slap fests. I have seen even just like punch fests. This may have been the first lariat fest I ever saw, where two giant men just stood in front of each other and hit standing lariats repeatedly and both refused to go down. Just big, giant slapping lariats.
Until the end.
Till the very end, and Ishii dropped it with a headbutt to the sternum. They were doing these great headbutts that were not the crazy stiff headbutts that actually caused damage, but they were bonking each other in the head and then just doing the best weebling and wobbling and not quite falling down. And at last, Makabe hit a top rope knee drop for the win. This was also great.
The craziest part of this match was the one lariat that they did right before the finish, which was, I think, the scariest lariat I've ever seen in my life. It wasn't like, in fact, sometimes you see the lariat and the guy takes a flip bump. Sometimes you see the lariat and the guy just takes a really, really, really hard bump. This lariat, Ishii did not even take a bump. He just fell. Makabe hit him so fucking hard with this lariat. It sounded like two bowling balls colliding. It sounded like when you watch Finding Bigfoot and Bobo gets a big tree branch and he starts tree knocking on another tree branch.
Yes.
That's exactly what this sounded like. And Ishii just fell like a dead man. And then we had the King Kong knee drop, and that was the end of that. This was crazy.
Kenny Omega versus Ryusuke Taguchi. Taguchi is called the Funky Weapon, which is hands down the best nickname a wrestler has ever had. Omega, since the last time I saw him, has grown out his hair. He's also dyed it black and gray. He looks like Chuck Palumbo's tiny old grandpa.
I don't buy that this is gray.
I'm not getting into this again. It's certainly not black.
I think he just put some white styrofoam in it or something. Some spray foam. It doesn't matter.
I'm sure you're right. So they're having this match. And it's fine. And then the Young Bucks take the ref. And Omega sprays Taguchi in the eyes with the aerosol can. And then he starts blinding him with his arm stubble. I'm not making any of this up. So it wasn't much for a while. And then Taguchi backdropped Omega onto the Bucks to take out them. Hit a big dive onto the pile. And then the last minute or two was freaking awesome. Just a nonstop flurry of cool moves. Omega's Dr. Bomb in particular was very impressive. And then he hit a move I've never seen before. Stryker called it the one-winged angel, but Stryker's the kind of guy who will just make up a name for a move if he wants to.
I think that's really what it's called.
Yeah.
That's his move.
So it's an electric chair. So he's got the guy sitting on his shoulders. And then he lets go of one leg and reaches up and grabs the guy's head and pile drives him down in front of him. It's horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
So Omega won. That was the finish. He wins the Junior Heavyweight Championship.
I think that the finishing sequence of this match may have been the best finishing sequence of anything on the entire show. It certainly was the one where I did a flip in the middle of it. It was incredible.
It was very crazy.
Yeah.
Up to that point, I was not much into it. Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows versus Haruki Goto and Katsuyori Shibata. I will not lie. I spent most of this match getting pizza and then eating the pizza. I can tell you the Americans took most of the match, and the Japanese came back and won with an alarm clock and a penalty kick, and the crowd witnessed at the end. I was surprised at how short it was.
This match went like 8 minutes, and it was awesome. This was as good a match as you're going to get in 8 minutes. They just... It was different. Like the Ishii match was two guys like just hitting each other as hard as humanly possible. This was just like a big dude pro wrestling match. Well, two of the guys. Anderson and Doc Gallows were just two big dudes, and Shibata and Goto were sitting there hard hitting Shibata is always going to kick you as hard as humanly possible, as Gallows learned at the end. And very good match for 8 minutes.
AJ Styles versus Tetsuya Naito. This was awesome. Much longer than the anything else up to this point. There's a lot of it was AJ working over Naito's leg, including hitting a leg stunner at one point, which is a new one. Every time Naito got the advantage, he immediately started breaking out high-risk aerial moves, including a dropkick off the apron to the floor that doubtless hurt him far more than it hurt AJ. There's also a leaping, flying somersault senton in the ring. It was a great, great, great spot where Naito's making a comeback and he does a corner charge and Styles just kind of sidesteps him, hooks his leg, and rolls through into the calf killer. It was excellent. And that was one of the points, by the way, where Jim Ross was so good at, he knew this is a legit possible finishing hold, and he cranked up his intensity. And then when Naito got the ropes, he brought himself back down because Jim Ross is the best. So AJ kept going for a Styles Clash and never got it. And then at the end, AJ's on the top rope, and Naito goes for a top rope Rana, and AJ catches him. And AJ said, I want to hit a Styles Clash off the middle rope. And Naito said, oh, fuck, he's going to try to hit a Styles Clash off the middle rope. And they had a battle. Naito was so scared. He was fighting for his life. He thought he might die if he took this move. And
that's the storyline.
To avoid it. And people have, well, yes. So the crowd was screaming for him to break free. He did not break free. AJ hit the Super Styles Clash. He did not break the man's neck, and he won. That ruled.
The Styles Clash is like the most over move in Japan right now. Because I think poor Yoshitatsu is still in the hospital, believe it or not.
That sucks.
In very bad shape. Well, I don't know how bad a shape he's in. I shouldn't say that. But I believe he's still in the hospital. If he's been in the hospital this long, he's not in great shape. But the storyline here is the very first spot of the match was AJ goes to give this guy the Styles Clash. And everybody just goes crazy. Like, oh my God, the Styles Clash. So every time he tries this move, the place goes absolutely crazy. And yes, at the end of the match, I got to tell you something. If I had to take a Styles Clash, I probably would rather take it off the middle rope. Because when AJ sets up the Styles Clash in the middle of the ring, your head is very, very close to the ground, and every single person that's gotten hurt has been from a Styles Clash where he jumps, they duck their head, and they fall on their neck. Well, this middle rope Styles Clash, he sets it up, and he leaps towards the middle of the ring. There's plenty of time for you to not tuck your head. You're going so far out, your head is so far away from the mat. I think the middle rope Styles Clash is probably much safer than the other Styles Clash. But it is a Styles Clash off the middle rope. And he sets it up, and the crowd goes crazy, and Naito goes crazy, and best of all, the referee is going crazy. The referee is screaming and begging AJ Styles not to do this move, and he's jumping up and down, and he's waving his arms around, and the dastardly AJ hits it anyway, and that is the end.
That's for sure.
That is the end of Tetsuya Naito. He is finished. And so I believe that AJ is next in line for a title shot. It is interesting that Tanahashi used to do the Styles Clash until AJ showed up. There is a storyline here if they want to do it. Or maybe AJ's just going to beat him with the move and win the title, and maybe Tanahashi will have to bust it out later on down the road to win the belt back. But this was great.
Yeah, that was outstanding. And then Kota Ibushi versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Holy hot damn, this was awesome. This was such a great wrestling match. Like, I don't even know how to recap it spot by spot. That would be pointless. But there were a lot of shots to the head. These guys were not afraid to hit each other in the head or get hit in the head. A lot of stomps in the head, a lot of knees to the head, a lot of punches to the head.
All you need to know, everybody, is there was a spot where Nakamura kicked out of a move, and they zoom in for a close-up of his face, and there's a boot print.
Oh, yeah. Quite a few of them. So the whole gimmick here is that Nakamura is the most charismatic wrestler in the world, which is entirely possible. And Kota Ibushi is a guy. And at the end here, Ibushi's running wild. He's taking everything Nakamura has to offer. And he's doing a comeback of his own. And he goes back to the corner, and he grabs the rope, and he hits Nakamura's pose. Then he hits him with his own move, and Nakamura kicked out. And Nakamura went for his knee strike a few more times. At one point, they both tried it. They went shin to shin. And finally, Nakamura hit a Michinoku driver, and then the Bama-Ye knee to the back of the head for the win. This was so goddamn great. I gave this match 4.5 stars. I did not overrate it. There's a very good chance I underrated it. This was awesome.
Well, there are people that think this is already going to win Match of the Year. and it's January 4th.
I can confirm it is the best match I have seen in 2015.
Well, that's true.
That is true.
That is a fact.
If I had to vote right now, this would be my pick.
Yeah, this I thought was better than the main event. The main event was awesome, but it was different. And of the two, this was the better match. But back to back, these were two ungodly great matches.
Yeah, that ruled. And then the main event was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kazuchika Okada. It was in many ways, a typical Japanese main event style match, and that halfway through you're thinking, this is okay. And then by the end you think, holy crap, that was great. There was a lot of headlocks early, a lot of elbow strikes. And they're brawling on the ramp. They both tease tombstones out there. And Tanahashi tries some running move, and Okada catches him and basically hits an AA, throwing him high into the air and bringing him crashing down onto the ramp.
That's right.
I also like, by the way,
the best part of that was I watched this on njpwworld.com, so I had the Japanese commentary. And he hits this move, and the Japanese announcers scream, AA! That's what they called it.
Oh, there you go. So, I like, by the way, all the wrestlers in Japan, especially for the main event matches, they bring a second down to the ring.
That's right.
To watch their back and just to make sure that they're okay in the match. Hiroshi Tanahashi's second in this match was Captain New Japan.
Yeah.
This would be like...
What's wrong with that?
This would be like if John Cena had a second in his match and chose Zack Ryder, in fact.
Actually, that's very close.
Yes.
Except Captain New Japan is significantly more successful.
Oh, that's good. So there was a long submission hold because it was a long match. And suddenly Tanahashi did something completely insane. So there's the ring, and then like the ringside area, and then a barricade, and then over on the other side of the barricade, and also appeared on the other side of the barricade, the floor actually dropped about a foot. So Tanahashi throws Okada way the hell out there. Then he goes back in the ring, he goes to the top rope, and he has a move called the high fly flow. It's a frog splash, as JR pointed out repeatedly. But,
which can also be a crossbody.
He can also hit it as a crossbody. But he hit the high fly flow from the top rope, over the ringside area, over the barricade, onto Okada in this little pit area. That was fucking nuts.
And Okada caught him perfectly.
He is a pro.
And thank God he did, because poor Tanahashi would have been reduced to dust.
Yes.
Had he not been
His
caught
arms
on
and
this
legs
move.
would have all fallen off.
Oh, this guy.
Would have been a bad, bad, bad scene. So for most of the next 10 minutes, it was a long series of high fly flows, sling blades, and rainmakers as they teased and traded every finish they have. A lot of suplexes, a lot of German variations, a lot of dragon suplexes. And out of all these big giant moves, all these finishers, all these head drops, about 20 minutes in, Tanahashi's running wild, and suddenly Okada just cuts him off with a drop kick. Just a drop kick to the face. But because it was timed so well, and because his drop kick is so awesome, it was like the best thing you ever saw in your life.
Yep.
Oh, God, it was great. And finally, Okada could take no more, actually. Tanahashi hit a bunch of dragon screws and hit 2 more high fly flows and got the win. That was awesome. I like the Nakamura match better, but that was a goddamn great main event, and that was one hell of a show.
That's right. The Tokyo Dome, everybody. If you haven't seen it yet, it's going to be replaying on pay-per-view, or you can just do the smart thing and sign up for njpwworld.com and buy it, and you can watch the Tokyo Dome. There's actually a show that's going to be starting in 6 hours on njpwworld.com. All of the big shows are on there for free. It's their version of the WWE Network. It's 999 yen. That's $8.34 right now. So significantly less than the WWE Network. In fact, if you're in the UK, the WWE Network is about $15 US, and the New Japan Network is $8.34 US. Just about the best value in the whole wide world. So head up there and check that out. A fabulous show. Talked about it all day today with Semper Vivi. Talked about it all night last night with Dave. So if you missed it, you missed out. So get your ass over there and buy it, and you can thank Vinny and I later.